Welcome to the Legacy Leaders Podcast. Are you doing the best for your client to help them create their legacy? Are you creating a plan that goes far beyond finances to help people ensure that it becomes the driving force behind all decisions? On this podcast, hosts Katie Beth Hand and Stan Miller will help you with growing your practice and your clients' peace of mind. Together, they bring the best and brightest minds to share with you how to help your clients develop their best legacy. And now, here are your hosts, Katie Beth and Stan.
Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to the Legacy Leaders Podcast. I am Jamie Moore from Moore & Kerboy, Counselors at Law, and I'm honored to be a co-host today, and I'm really excited about our guest today. So we're so pleased and happy from the Podium Group, and fascinating guy in about 9 different ways. I wish we had to squish this down and keep it within our time frame. And so, Bill, I guess the first thing was, would you mind just tell us a little bit about your backstory, if you wouldn't mind?
Yeah, well, thanks, Jamie, first of all, for having me on. This is just a lot of fun. Looking forward to the conversation. I grew up in Northeast Ohio. That's where I went to high school. Got some roots in Western Pennsylvania as well, and we can kind of get into how that led into, my football career. But originally from Ohio, that's where I spent most of my childhood. Was fortunate enough to get a scholarship to Michigan State to play football, which was my first love. And even more fortunate it took some time, but eventually realized that my coach at Michigan State was Nick Saban. So he went on to become the greatest college football coach that ever lived at Alabama and won 7 national titles. But I got to spend 5 years with him at Michigan State, and I've learned so much from him. That propelled me into successful careers in various industries. And long story short, that led me to this conversation that we're having here today. And I just feel so fortunate that I got to not only learn all those lessons and have all those great experiences as an athlete, but that combined with my experiences post-career now has allowed me to have some success. And now with my family, paying forward all those lessons to my kids and really imparting on as many people as possible who want to succeed and achieve big things in their lives, all the lessons and knowledge that I've gained from so many great people that I've been around and so many important lessons that I've learned along the way.
What a fascinating journey to get to the point of what you're doing now, what I'll inadvertently call financial advisor. You're really more of a wealth counselor guru-ette, if you will, as I've gotten to know you. But the general categorization for you would be a financial advisor. What led you to that path?
Well, it's all under this umbrella of really loving to help people. And really, I think being in leadership roles, not only in sports, but in, my professional life as well, my definition of leadership is the same as a lot of other people's, and that's just helping other people get what they want, essentially. So I love helping people reach their dreams and creating and building legacies for themselves and their families. That's what you do as a quarterback, which is what the position I played in football. But in addition to that, now I can really, see in my own life and my extended family how advanced planning and leadership in the financial world has led to so many great memories and so many legacies that were created. And now I want to help other people do that for themselves and their families as well. And that's not a thing that gets talked about quite frequently enough in open spaces. But I think ultimately deep down, if you're a leader and you're responsible and you care about something greater than yourself, it's something that's very important to you. So I'm just looking for those people. I'm constantly in pursuit of those people that desire my help and want to do those things in their lives, because I feel like as teammates, we can really do those things together.
So I love the sports analogy. Those of us that have sports experience, and then envy for those. I remember playing my very last high school game, and we really were Remember the Titans. We were 11-0. My tackle on my right side of the defensive line, I was a middle linebacker, wide tackle 6, and he was nuts. Guy had one eyeball poking off in that direction, and it wasn't the all-state honors and yada yada like you've experienced. It was at the end of the season, it was a -3 yards gained over our side of the line for the season. So here I am, umpty-fratch years old, and really still proud of on the gridiron was.
Oh man, I have so many. I started playing when I was 8 years old, so I've got a lot there. But a lot of them came at Michigan State, and beating Ohio State when they were number one in the country in 1998 on the road at their place. That was one of them. And
Oh,
then
yeah.
also beating Tom Brady and the in-state rivals, Michigan Wolverines, at home my senior year. So those are the two biggest ones, probably, I would say.
Wow. Have you text Tom now and then just to remind him to stay humble or not?
No, we're not on speaking terms, so that doesn't happen.
Oh, wow. Well, I love that analogy of the team and the leader and the vision and all the stuff we learned as athletes. And then you just published your book. Is that right? So tell us about that, please.
Yeah, it's called Victory Outside the Arena. And my hope was that, for the athletes out there who have spent, most of their lives being identified as an athlete and getting their confidence and sense of self-worth from that, once that ends and their career ends, so much of that goes away. A lot of the fandom, the applause, even extended family that came, excuse me, that were attracted to them because of their career. Some of those things fade away. So, I really wanted to be a help and give people hope, athletes hope, that there's a lot of other athletes out there like that who have experienced the same thing. So I put all out and hopefully, it can give some solace and some comfort to some of those athletes out there that might be struggling.
It's such a wonderful thing you've done because even though it's been 1,000 years ago, those same thoughts resonated with me, even though I had a limited career, just a little bit past high school and as a wrestler in the Marine Corps. But that was many back in Old Testament days, and reading your book brought up those same feelings. Isn't that interesting? So what caused you to have that light bulb like, gee, it can't just be me that's struggling with this? And then a book? Why not just be a coach? I would have thought you wanted to go into coaching or maybe some other area of leadership or teaching.
Well, I think, as an athlete, you are taught really to keep a lot of the feelings inside and maybe not ask for help. It's not very tough to ask for help sometimes. You're supposed to be the warrior and the leader. So I know that mentality doesn't translate very well to real life sometimes. So my thought was, if I can put everything in a book, that's a legacy, that lasts forever. That will never get thrown in the trash can. Somebody might read it, get educated from it, and then pass it along to somebody else as well. So I think those two things really resonated with me. And again, my hope is that I can do things that last forever. Some of the things that I did in athletics created memories for me that will last forever, memories for fans that will last forever. And I also want to put my knowledge and my experiences in a book, not just for sports fans or people that I don't know, but even for my own kids. I want them to make sure that they're learning these things and they know what dad went through. And again, it's all about doing things that have an impact and things that will last well beyond, my time here on earth.
So kind of the Japanese talk about what's your 100-year plan. You ask people that and they look at you like you had too much to drink,
Yeah.
I'll tell you, one of the things that struck me about your book was a lot of reminders of blendings. And I go, oh, I remember reading that blah, blah years ago, or I remember that quote. So there was some commonality in your thinking. And the issue of what are you going to be when you grow up, it should be an endless thing. So I just love that. It made me think. I like books that make me think. Entertainment's fine, and sometimes here's a checklist to figure out how to take care of your feet better, and that's all great. But when I get done, I go, man, he made me think about a lot of things. So well done with that.
Thank you.
And then tell us about your current position, your current firm.
Yeah, I'm an associate partner with the Podium Group, and the idea for the name really of the group is people that have been to the podium in some sort of leadership position, because every member of our staff or our group has been to the podium in the athletic space. So we want to help business owners, for example, who are at the podium now. We want to help them build and protect their financial legacy and protect the things that got them to the podium. We want to be the leaders that help them stay at the podium financially, for their families and for their businesses as well.
What a great way to think of it. We talk a lot in the exit planning industry that you and I work in, that, what's the second half going to look like as well? What does legacy can mean money, but more often than not, it's who are you as a human and what impact are you going to have? I love that. Just love it. So tell me, if you wouldn't mind, in our practice, we have what we call an avatar client, or as an ideal client. We just like the avatar client as a better term. We've actually named the family one and the business owner. The family ideal avatar is Dr. George Mustard and his wife, Honey Mustard. And our business owners, as you know, is Frazzled Frank, right? So that's our nickname for them, and the details are behind that. But how would you tell us what does your avatar client look like?
Yeah, and no, we haven't given them names yet, but we do have a specific client that we like to work with. But in a general sense, we want people that believe in something bigger and greater than themselves, have some economic potential, and then have a strong sense of responsibility as well. And of course, some intellect to know that these things exist and that they're powerful tools, all their plans in place. So we help individuals, families, and business owners. But again, the details of their financial lives can look very differently depending on who it is. But those three pillars, those three core values are really what we're looking for first and foremost.
So have you discovered, as we have, that puts us in that coaching role? We're not the quarterback, we're the coach. And what is it, Landry or somebody, maybe it was Nick, talked about the coach can't win the game, but the coach can sure as heck lose the game. So part of that is we struggle with getting someone to discover and disclose to us what you just said, those purposeful foundational values. And then number one, are you coachable? Are you teachable? Are you intellectually curious about your own life? Because we all don't always act in our best interests. So how do you broach that topic initially?
Well, you're right. It's really a challenge of getting them to open up a little bit and talk about, not financial details, but really getting to the heart of what their dreams are, what their hopes are for their families, for their businesses, for their own lives. And I write in my book as well, I don't think people, business owners or athletes or whoever, I don't think people take enough time to sit down and really identify exactly what it is that they want. And I think that's because on some level, they don't believe that they can actually have those things. So they avoid talking about it and thinking about it and ultimately planning for it. So if we really can put people in more of a pretend state and say, look, take all the reins off, just wave your magic wand, what exactly do you want your life to look like right now and then X number of years into the future? And let's make that a reality. How can we help you or coach you from here where you are now till that point in the future? Because, let's help you plan for every single dollar up until the very last day that you're on the earth. And I think once we help people do that, they not only see it's a possibility, but it gives them great comfort. So I think, helping people focus on that type of planning and allowing them to realize that if they let too much time pass because they're immersed in the day-to-day activities of life, family, business, and otherwise, they ultimately might feel good in the moment, but they're ultimately not going to get to that pretend state that hopefully we can have a conversation about.
Yeah, pebble in the pond again, isn't it? Isn't it wonderful when I always have a vision in my mind of the little light bulb on top of the cartoon character, and they go,
Yeah.
"Oh, this is a safe, comfortable, confidential environment that I can just talk." Hey, Bob woke you up at 2 a.m. this morning. Oh my gosh. And I just love it when they relax and start to show me some of their heart instead of spread the spreadsheet out in front of me. What would you say about that?
100%. I feel so much like, so much of all of our lives are just lived on the surface. We need to have, I think, more meaningful conversations. I think we need to slow down once in a while and have those deeper conversations about what's really important to us. And I think the trick is finding people like you, Jamie, that are open to the same things, that we can really have that connection with people and have these conversations and, go beyond the first 5 minutes of, what the weather's like outside. Let's spend a couple hours really talking about, who we are and what's really important to us, and be vulnerable enough and open enough to have those conversations. And I think that's really where the magic happens. So if we can do that with people that maybe we haven't known for 20 years and aren't best friends with, and we can get them to open up and make it more about, their dreams and their realities and their families and their heart and all of those components, then the financial math equations that we all talk so much about, that is secondary. That's just the tool or the roadmap to get us to where we want to be. But it's all really about, those dreams that so many people, unfortunately, kind of keep to themselves too often, in my opinion.
Yeah, as opposed to Cuba Gooding, show me the money.
Right, right,
It's like, what?
right.
We have in our industry a lot of misinformation. There's a lot of pundits out there spewing out really bad information. What would you say were a couple of the major misconceptions about what you do professionally?
That's a great point. I think there's a lot of people in our industry that kind of give the industry a bad name, and I guess the media and the constant stream of information doesn't help either, because people, without a quarterback or a coach, they're kind of left to fend for themselves. And then, with everything else, the busyness of life, they don't really have the time to do the research themselves. So we all get inundated with all this misinformation. But I think it doesn't have to be so complicated. If you've got somebody that's guiding you and coaching you and keeping things simple for you. I write in my book that, success, the path to success really is boiled down into three categories: your dreams, your decisions, and your discipline. And that's really, you can apply that to your financial life as well. What are your dreams? Because your dreams are really the destination that you want to get to. The decisions that you make are the directions to get there. And then discipline is what makes the difference. A lot of people think that it needs to be complicated financial planning, but if you've got, a few small, consistent disciplines that you adhere to that are in alignment with the plan and the dream that you started with, then there's no way that you can't get to your goal. If you start with those simple 3D words. I think, again, it doesn't have to be complicated, but I think you need to have the right person coaching you along the way.
So the vision I have in my mind is the three-legged stool. My buddy's dad could use the one-legged to milk. Us kids, it didn't work, but I liked the three-legged one. But what was interesting, it worked as long as those dowels were like glued. If it got dry and you sat on it, it just split out and you fell on your hiney. Yeah. So part of what you're saying is to glue those disciplines together. And what would you say with that analogy as it relates to us professionally? A lot of my experience has been we're kind of like pool balls or silos, or lateral you off to the CPA and then go see me and go see you. And we all have good intentions, but I love that analogy of the stool.
Yeah, and that's what's so great about our industry. We can be the coach that, or the team owner that brings all of those advisors together around the table. We certainly don't ever intend to step on anybody's toes if a client or a prospect has some advisors that they know, like, and trust already. And of course, we don't have a corner on the market of great knowledge. We don't pretend to be that. But on the other side of that, we also can be just one seat at the table, offering our expertise in a lot of what we do is in the risk management space, which we believe is the foundation of that stool, of that plan. Before you can talk about all the sexy stuff that you see on TV, like the stocks and the bonds, you've got to have some protections in place to take care of things that you've already built. So that's really an important foundational piece for us.
Yeah, we pick on three villains in our practice: creditors, predators, and Darth Vader, which is the IRS, of course. Darth Vader dies around here. My partner's goal in life is that when his feet hit the ground this morning, somebody at the IRS in Washington said, "Oh, darn it, he woke up again."
Yes, I love that.
What would you say, kind of a sort of an unfair question, the main thing, if you can narrow it to that you've learned so far in the work that you've done?
Wow, that's a big question. What I've learned is that, this is really about people. It's not about numbers or math or, maybe planning for a an unrealistic future, or an unrealistic time, or an unrealistic, vision of what you think you have to settle for. It's really about people, what they care about, and what's important to them. And I think back to my playing days as a football player, and I never would have been able to play an individual sport, because the best part about playing my sport was my teammates. I don't miss the touchdowns in the games. The thing I miss most is sharing the experience with them, sharing, raising the trophy at the end of the game when you win a big game, or even, lamenting a loss, or coming into the locker room after a freezing cold practice in late November, in the dark, or making fun of the coaches, all those camaraderie things that bond everybody, going through those experiences, the ups and the downs together. I mean, I think that's really what it's all about. And I think that's what life is all about. That's why we all have families. That's why we all have friends. That's why we all flock into a sports stadium on a Saturday afternoon, is because we want to, cheer with our fellow fan, and feel a part of a group. So, that's really important to me. And teams have always been a consistent theme throughout my entire life. So I'm glad that I get to continue that now.
Isn't it amazing how those stick, though? My 21 years in the Marine Corps, and I still have some buddies that I call, "What's up?" And it's, "Hey, remember the time when the snake bit your nose, and when you had to eat the cold lamb?" It's not all the, "Yeah, we won this, so those there," but those primary memories are the personal ones, right?
Sure, 100%.
Tell us an example, if you wouldn't mind, of something with a client that when they came in, you weren't so sure and all that, but it turned out really, really good. Maybe they had misconceptions. Maybe their finances were a mess, or had been through some turmoil. My original practice, I ended up having to be bankrupt because of a pathological liar partner, and had to dig myself out of that. And if it hadn't been for my then now retired advisor, it would have been a lot different outcome. So tell us about something that went really, really well that maybe didn't start that way.
Well, that just makes me think that, usually our best clients, or the clients that we end up having the longest and strongest relationship with, are the ones that are initially very standoffish and very difficult to get them to open up. Because I think, if somebody is very open and easy in the beginning, usually from my experience, sometimes they're just being nice and polite, and, it doesn't necessarily lend itself to the opportunity for us to help. So I think the people that are really most appreciative, and the people that need the most help, are sometimes the people that are hardest to break through that initial wall in the beginning, because they maybe have some hang-ups about, telling us about maybe some past mistakes that they've made, or some things that, they wish had gone a little differently, or maybe some regrets that they have. So that's the most rewarding part of it, because I think for a person like yourself and me in our businesses, you've got to meet that challenge, and you've got to push through those initial resistances, so to speak. And once you do that, that's really where the magic happens, I think. And that's really where a strong bond is formed. Because I think in some ways, on some levels, that type of a person is almost testing you to see if you're going to stick around long enough, and you truly want to know what's most important to them. And as given your background and my background, we're both up for that challenge.
Win, win, and win, right?
Yes.
So the name of the book is Victory Outside the Arena. Bill Burke, author, and available on Amazon, I'm assuming.
Yes.
Okay. And how do we get a hold of you, Bill? How do people reach out, and how do we find you?
Yeah, I can be reached. My email, I'll just give you my email. It's bill@thepodiumgroup.com. Also on LinkedIn as well. So I'm doing a lot of podcast interviews like this one as well, to kind of promote the concepts in the book, and just talk about, victory in all sorts of arenas. But, in my belief, before you step into any arena, whether it's business or athletics, you've got to win the victory outside of it, which is, to say that you've got to have your mind right, and you've got to understand, some mental concepts around, what's important to you, and, what you want to accomplish. Because I think a lot of us are kind of out there in our world going through the motions, but not really intentional about what we're doing. So Just really excited to have these conversations, and it's opened up so many different doors in terms of meeting great people again, which is the business that we're in. So excited about it, and again, just so grateful that you had me on to have a great conversation like this.
You're very welcome, Bill. Thanks so much for your insight and your wisdom, and for kicking Brady's butt. That was awesome.
My pleasure.
Really appreciate it. Yeah. Well, thanks so much for listening, everyone. Again, this is Legacy Leaders. Jamie Moore, your co-host today, and we've been just excited and pleased to have Super Stud Muffin en passé, Mr. Billy Burke, and now the financial guru of the century, with us today. So have a terrific day. You deserve it.
You've been listening to the Legacy Leaders Podcast with Katie Beth Hand and Stan Miller. For more information on them and the show, please visit pinnaclelegacylaw.com. If you like what you've learned today, do share the program with your friends and subscribe wherever podcasts are found.